Here we go.
Um,
Three, two.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. How is everybody doing? This is Art and Video Games, the weekly show where we talk about art and video games. I am Mitchell Chan, and we are with our normal crew of Billy Rennekamp, Matt Shell, and Travis Smalley, going from left to right.
Hello.
On my screen, I'm going to adjust the window so that we can get Billy all the way in there. And how are you guys doing?
Doing great. I actually like having Art tab as the background there.
Yeah.
That's good. Very, very high production value.
Not quantized. Love to
Yeah,
see
shout
it.
out to Quantized.
Yeah. And then, there we go.
Doing
Now we're
great. Glad it's
happy.
Friday. Glad to see some games that I didn't know before. Mitch and I were just saying, seems like the audience is split today. Two people who are familiar with the titles and two people who are not. Is that right?
Yeah, I had
Travis, you're
no
the
Yeah, I
person in
think so.
question, I guess. Matto, you definitely do.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with Spelunky, but I'm not familiar with the other game.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that. So the other game that we're going to play today, I mean, we can get deeper into it later, is Mosa Lina. I don't think it's really well known, but I think it's really cool and interesting, particularly if we want to talk about themes of kind of like randomness, generativity, procedural generation. I think it takes a really kind of beautiful approach to that that's a little bit unconventional. So yeah, it'd be fun to talk about. And then Spelunky, for those who don't know, is kind of like the classic roguelike platformer, very canonical indie game, very important, one of my kind of like all-time favorite games. So we're gonna do that as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Excited.
it's a game that I know is quite legendary, and I just had never gotten around to playing. And Mosa Lina, just kind of the focus of this week. Yeah, I'd never even heard of. So I was saying I downloaded it in prep for this week, and got into it for like five minutes. Realized actually it's pretty hard, and hard in
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
it is actually.
unconventional
Yeah,
ways. And then I realized
yeah,
actually it would be better if I didn't prep, so that I could
Totally.
have real reaction TikTok material here.
Mitch reacts. You won't
Yeah.
believe it.
What? Um,
Also, we're Derek Yu, the creator of Spelunky, one of my favorite Twitter follows because he shares a lot of kind of illustrations and from his own work, but also of a lot of games illustrators. And yeah, I woke up this morning to see his post of for Akira Toriyama. It said an adventure in every one of his drawings. Rest in peace. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, as I was going through the timeline, just like, oh, whoa, yeah, it's like I think that Toriyama's work hit, I think all of us, and kind of his lineage lives on in like a lot of our projects and the things that we love. So, and I know that Derek Yu, who made Spelunky, is like he's a really big inspiration for him too.
well, can
yeah.
you give
We'll
us
Here's
a
be able to
little?
see it in the art style.
Can you give us a little bit of biographical background for people who are maybe not familiar?
Akira Toriyama, I think of started in the early 80s maybe with Dr. Slump and then later with Dragon Ball. I associate him most with his dumpy cars. He draws like the best like chunky little chubby cars ever. And then creator of one of the best RPGs of all time, Dragon Quest. Like he did all the illustration. Not Yuji Horii made the game, but he's kind of responsible for the art direction of it. And his monsters are wonderful, responsible for the slime, the bat, the big stone golem, really great dragons. Yeah, part of me was just like, oh, maybe we should get into like Dragon Quest today. Like we should do like a Dragon Quest stream, which I think would actually be wonderful at some point to kind of talk about RPG mechanics and games. Um, but yeah, just I thought it seemed very fitting that like it was Derek Yu, the creator of Spelunky, that I saw that from this morning, and then Matto and Billy, I both saw you had posted about it as well, and
yeah,
yeah, great artist.
yeah.
Just really sad to lose him.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I know. And only 68, which
I
feels
know.
like just really, really ouch, you know, just considering like, yeah, no, it's a very sad moment. So,
Oh man, having some slow internet today, so hopefully this it doesn't hurt us too bad. That's nice. That's a very nice uh, introduction to that. Um, you guys still with me, or are we frozen? Oh,
the thing I was going to add to that list, in playing Dragon Quest is
Yeah.
to play at some point.
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting aspects of that in terms of how it takes the idea of sandbox and gives it structure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a fun one.
awesome.
I feel so out of date with all of the Minecraft type games. I know, Travis, you were like teaching a class where everything was run through Minecraft. Do the rest of you spend a lot of time on Minecraft servers?
I've played a good amount of Minecraft, mainly with my kids. Like pandemic era, Minecraft was one of those games that would like run on every platform. So we would like all get every platform except PlayStation. PlayStation was like the only one that banned crossplay. So it was like we'd have like the Switch, the iPad, the PC all connected, and I feel like that was a really, really fun and cool experience. But and my kids have played lots of like the weird, like high pixel, super modded, different Minecraft modes. But I've kind of just generally played more like vanilla, creative, and survival Minecraft.
Yeah, I saw that Milady has like a server
Milady
for it.
Craft, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They did like a Milady rave in their Minecraft server. I think it's pretty
Wow.
pretty
v
cool.
very hip. Sorry guys, I was having just a little bit of technical connectivity issues, but our stream is okay. So, thanks. Sorry, I was out of it for a second there. Um, hey, before we jump into the game, people want to tell us. Actually, I haven't spoken to any of you guys in like 2 weeks. Do you guys see any good art or play any good games in the 2 weeks since I've talked to you last?
I'm still deep on my nonogram grind. uh, I feel I'm getting more and more boomer every day. My dad visited here, and he's an avid Wordle player. I started playing Wordle this week. I'm really going down the wrong direction. I'm getting cooler on the stream and lamer in real life.
Wow, yeah, this is not the
What I
direction
can
we
bring to the
expected
table
you
on
to
a
be
video
going
game
in.
conversation.
Yeah, it's just the
Got
New
some
York Times crossword is getting it's getting just unfathomable, really. No, I'm glad we're staying on the
It's
cutting edge of the
become woke.
discourse. Yeah.
What about you all? What about people who play real games? What's the latest?
Balatro.
Yeah, I was going to say
Oh, tell
Balatro
us
is the
about
What's
thing
that.
that?
that's
That's dominating.
taking the world by storm.
Ah,
I
yeah.
actually only played the demo. I just bought it, so I need to actually play. So we should do. That's the other thing I was going to suggest is we should do Balatro and Slay the Spire. Kind of like main focus on
Yes,
Balatro. Slay the Spire is kind of like the undercard
would love that.
for an episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Balatro is a roguelike poker. Uh, and you are building decks mostly around jokers, and the jokers have like a lot. There's like 150 different jokers in the game, and they drastically change how you go through the 8 levels of ante, where the ante keeps getting higher and higher. I think it has like my guess is that it makes you worse at actual poker playing it, but maybe not. But it was like my nightly game, I would say. After work or after studio time, coming home after kids are asleep, like come down and do like 2 or 3 hours of Balatro, and yeah, I feel like that a bunch of my students are really into it as well. That it's kind of like hitting a lot of people.
Yeah, it's
Especially
super
if you like the
popular.
kind of the roguelike structure of it's like you're going through, you're building this thing, and then you're gonna die and then start over again at some point. But it's the version of roguelikes not where it's the same every time, but you actually unlock stuff, which I always have mixed feelings about. Like, but you're like unlocking more and more as you play through it.
Hmm.
Um, and but yeah, I definitely think it'd be fun to get into in one of our upcoming streams.
Yeah, I gotta check it out
Yeah.
for sure because I love card games, right? Like I love Slay the Spire. I love
Mitch,
Gwent.
I think it's gonna hit for you.
Okay, okay, that's great. I was also play. This is sort of related. I played a card adjacent, another card adjacent game, um, that was recommended to me by a friend. So I don't even know when it came out. Called Card Shark. That was published by Devolver Digital.
Hmm.
And it's a really interesting sort of like it's I wouldn't call it an RPG, but it's sort of like a narrative game in which you play like an old-timey gentleman who cheats at cards, who helps like other card sharks. Really interesting. So ultimately you're sort of like the gameplay is after you've, walked around and picked up different quests from people or whatever, you sit at the table and there's a card game going on, but you're not playing cards. There are these sort of like timing based, like interfaces to, insert a marked card into the deck, right, and cheat.
Hmm.
I've just started it. I kind of like the art style, and I think it's a unique, like it's a unique meta take on the like card game genre. So that's been kind of interesting.
Oh, that's cool. 2022 came out. I hadn't actually heard about this one. Yeah, the art style is cool.
Yeah,
Looking at
Devolver
it on
Digital
the
just
screen.
puts out so much stuff.
Oh,
Billy,
Billy,
you're
you're
on mute,
muted.
bud.
Whoops. I was going to say this looks really beautiful, and it just reminded me. I didn't just play Wordle with my dad here. He's an avid card player as well. I think we played Spades almost all day, every day, and then Casino, which is kind of an odd game that I don't think a lot of people have played before that I really like. As well as when things got really tough, we played Idiot's Delight, which is Aces Up Solitaire. If anybody knows that, one of my favorite dribble games of all time. But yeah, the world of cards is amazing, and it's amazing to see it show up in video games in these interesting ways. The poker game you guys mentioned, I'm downloading in the background. Sorry, I was a little bit distracted because my poker friend told us about it. I have like a poker group we get together once a month or so, and he was sending it around talking about how everybody's going crazy for it in all the poker circles. So yeah, it seems to be making ripples in every direction.
Solo
Funny
dev
thing,
too.
there was also some controversy over it because on like game dev Twitter, because apparently the Balatro dev is not like a serious poker player. He's like a poker imposter, which was kind of funny.
Didn't
It's
put in
so
his time.
weird.
Little discourse for you there.
And he was catching flack for this?
Uh-huh. Yep.
That's so weird. Like it just makes you wonder, like, yeah, how many like programmers of like Forza Motorsport are like actually serious, like F1 like car drivers, you know?
That's
Totally.
the. Did you ever read that article about the Tony Hawk Pro Skater team when they were building it?
No.
The very first version. Every engineer had to learn how to kickflip or ollie or kickflip.
Yeah.
And so there's all these like videos.
Kickflip would be a real high bar. Ollie, I
Yeah.
feel like it's a
Sure.
little more
I think they all had to
realistic.
learn how to ollie. And like the
That's
team,
crazy.
I don't know, it was like 10 people or something. It's all these weird videos of them in like the 90s and these like office buildings trying to learn how to kickflip. And like, I think Tony Hawk only got brought on like right before it was released, even. And like the
Huh.
900 was also like a last minute stretch goal to put it in there. He had just done it in real life. They're like, we have to put it into the game. There's this
Wow.
huge epic story of like the building of the Tony Hawk game, which includes all these details. That was a really fun read a while ago.
That's interesting because the 900 in Tony Hawk, the animation for it is way more like realistic than the other animations for the special moves. Like in terms
That's
of
interesting.
like even the frame rate and how he lands it. Like the other ones I feel like are so silly, and this one like it seems like they spent time on it. I also to this day I have this like recurring dream of the physics of Tony Hawk where I'm at a
Wow.
skate park and I have this kind of like moon physics that allows me to like be in the air for much longer.
Oh, that's so cool. That's such a good dream. That's like such a fun. Yeah, the actually Tony Hawk. So I think it's right. So Tony Hawk Underground. There's a. So my son is like a skateboarder. He's 13, and he is got into Thug Pro is like it's a modded Tony Hawk version that is like modded to hell and has like all this crazy stuff in it, and that the community I'm pretty sure community run servers, so it's like a total like basically at this point like open source, but obviously not, like fork of Tony Hawk Underground that has like a real active community to this day. And he was like really playing it a lot like a year or two ago, and was like learning all this modding stuff and like asking me all these like kind of game dev like questions so he could get his like Thug Pro mods working, which I thought was pretty cool. And obviously like it's just a crazy accolade for that game that still, whatever it is, 20 years later, there's people like going so hard to keep it alive. You can like put Shrek in there and shit.
I just want to say, Travis, I'm so happy that we can mention one special move in a PS1 game from like 1998, and that you have instant recall of like the animation frames in that.
Oh, we
Like,
could go. I could probably sing you the soundtrack to one and two straight through.
yeah,
Like, also, I'm
but
not sure if it's me who's my Discord keeps beeping. I think I've gone into streamer mode now, but I'm sorry if you like keep hearing like a Discord beep.
yeah,
That's
I'm
all right.
not sure. It's sometimes it's me, but yeah, it's just whatever.
Okay.
It's just, our
Okay,
audience
cool.
knows we're popular.
It is what it is.
A
Okay.
lot of DMs, a lot of DMs to join special alpha channels. There we go.
Okay. That's exactly.
Um,
That's exactly what's going on.
Oh man, yeah, like yeah, the song, the music from this game, everything about it, right? Like I was the exact right age, the exact like Mountain Dew X Games fiend
yeah,
for this game. And it's like I'm jealous of like kids that were like maybe 4 years younger who got Skate, because I actually think that that is a much better game
mhm.
than Tony Hawk, and like how you could move ramps around the world and kind of set up your own spots to skate. The controls of it and everything. I know that there's like this continuous meme for Skate 4, but I would love it if they did return to that in some way.
Actually, I'd be remiss if I didn't give my good friend Sam Eng a shout out. He's working on a game called Skate Story, which is like a skateboarding art game
Ooh.
that's about to be published by Devolver imminently, I think. That he's been working on solo for like 4 or 5 years now. Um,
Sick.
yeah, see Mitch if you can pull up the trailer because it's really
Sure.
gorgeous.
What's it called? Skate
Skate
Story?
Story. Yeah, and if you type by Sam Eng, ENG is his last name. Uh, it's really beautiful.
Oh, whoa, yeah.
Um, yeah, it's definitely his kind of like. I think and
Oh
it's
wow.
already pretty. Yeah, it's pretty popular. And I think I'm hoping obviously that it'll do well. This is actually it's funny. This I think is hosted on my YouTube channel because Sam and I we started our company together, Thousand Ant actually before, and then he
Yeah.
got the deal with Devolver and left to go
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
Um, but so this is actually a very early version of the trailer, but yeah, it's really beautiful, and
That's
I'm
really
super excited for it
beautiful.
to come out. Yeah, it's built in Unity.
Exciting.
He's a
Wow.
really talented dev. Yeah. Speaking of art games, and he's got like, Richard Serra sculptures and stuff in there. So it's
Oh
definitely
wow.
in the art game lineage.
Well, we will yeah, man, we'll check this out when it comes out. What's the release date on this?
That I don't know.
Oh
I
wow, yeah,
know,
this trailer is this trailer's old. So let's see if I can
yeah,
find
there's a
something more
new,
recent.
see if we can find the latest.
Here, I
Um,
got it on Steam. Steam will have the most recent stuff.
the latest. Yeah, it just says 2024 for the release
Yeah.
date. And it's cool, actually. Yeah, this guy, Blood
Oh,
Cultures, the music is really good. And so he teamed up with like one musician to do the whole soundtrack. So it's got this very like strong kind of a tourist fingerprint from his like art style and programming. And then this guy, Blood Cultures music, like I think it's gonna be really special.
yeah. The mocap looks awesome.
It's all hand animation, no mocap.
Wow, that's the way to go, though.
Yeah.
That is the way to go.
It's all him just keyframing. Yeah,
Hmm.
which is crazy because he's not an animator, so he just
Right.
like I don't even know how that happened, but yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty great.
yeah, it's cool. Totally. What about you, Mitch? You were having some adventures out in the world while you were
Oh yeah.
between
So
episodes.
yeah, so I mean, thank you to our audience for bearing with us. We were away last week due to a series of a series of unfortunate occurrences. And so I should just start off by saying, thank you to the all the doctors and staff at the Betty Ford Center in LA. You are the real heroes and helping people like me get back on their feet. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I was in LA last week for Freeze Week, the big art fair that happens down there, and which actually ended up being a really big week for me for like the art and video games beat, um, which is really exciting. I saw a little bit of art while I was down there, but the little bit of art that I saw included some really good pieces that I was really excited to see. Um, and I met some art and video game people, so it was really exciting for me. Travis, I was telling you, I finally met your friend Nora Khan, which was really exciting for me. And so for people who are not familiar, I mean, Nora has been writing about this stuff and curating about this stuff for a long time. Certainly for like a lot longer than I've been talking or thinking or creating stuff of this ilk. So that was actually like really really exciting. I was actually like like I get really nervous when I meet people who are like really smarter than me about the thing that I do that I'm supposed to be good at. Um, but she was very great, graceful and kind, and that was really nice. And then I also connected while I was down there with the people at KillScreen, which was really really exciting for me because they are also like the people who have been really really smart about this stuff for like a lot longer than I've been smart about this stuff, and they were a media outlet that published, I think it's fair to say, like a lot of like the leading thinking and the leading writing of like exactly what we're doing here, which is like thinking about video games like and being smart about it, thinking about them as art, thinking about them as cultural artifacts. Um, right now, they have an exhibition space in LA, and they do a lot of education programming, which is excellent. Actually, if you look through their catalog of workshops and stuff that you can just buy online and get, they're pretty awesome. And so that was really exciting for me to kind of meet some art and video game people down there.
That I didn't know about this new work that they're doing. Obviously, I was familiar with them 10 years ago when they were basically like a magazine slash website, but I didn't realize that they had taken on this new incarnation.
Yeah, and some of these workshops are really good, and I love that they're just always there, like that you can do them asynchronously. Like, let me hold on, let me go through this because there's some really good ones that I want to do, like that would just be like a really fun afternoon. Like, where was like, I don't know, these are the resources, but there's like Maya Man does a workshop, which is really cool, which I kind of want to see. I don't know if it's under library or resources. Oh yeah, here you go. Right. Um, and just like the kind of stuff that's just weird enough that like you probably wouldn't find this as a YouTube tutorial because it maybe wouldn't get enough traffic for the YouTube algorithm to bring it
Yeah,
up. But it's like it's perfect. Like if you're interested in making art with video game engines, like these are really nice ways to like to frame some workshops.
super cool. And
Yeah.
what is their kind of they give in-person workshops and they charge for them? Like what is their business model in this new mode?
They have a space. I don't know everything about it. I shouldn't talk like I know everything about it. I think that
Sure.
because I think like everyone, their business model switched a lot during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so like I would suspect that I mean these must have be online because like you can purchase them now as online workshops and stuff like that, right? And then I guess you have
Okay.
access to like
Okay.
sort of videos and stuff like that. So, but I don't know if if they're
Oh, I
online
see.
only when they
Yeah.
launch, or if there's an in person or if there's an in person component.
That's cool. So they've turned into almost like a school type model.
Yeah, and while I was there was an excellent exhibition going on of like sort of architectural imaginations produced by like the students at I want to say USC that were all rendered in game engines, and they had an exhibition space. It was beautiful. There were beautiful models, and that was sort of a different way of engaging with like education programming, which is really nice.
That's really cool. Yeah, no, I find I'm really curious to see. I feel like we're probably going to see more people doing things like this, like people who in the past would have started like a magazine or some kind of a critical institution, right? Turning into schools and spaces and galleries and you know what I mean? Like I think it's a really
Hmm.
interesting, I'm really interested to see people trying to find sustainable ways to keep this kind of like thinking and thinking work going on.
Yeah, but I do wish though I wish it were viable to be a smart media outlet still though. Like I do like still wish that they were like a hub of all of the really smart like critical writing that's gonna happen in the space because I feel like we really need that as the like as this type of work and this way of thinking about art becomes more common. um, I'm going to be really sad if that happens not in tandem with critical thinking and curators and writers and stuff like that,
Yeah.
because I don't want to end up with just another big dumb yell fest. But that's a rant for another time. Anyway, that was really awesome. I saw some great work. Huge shout out. An exhibition I saw last week in LA that was really fantastic was this exhibition called Small Voice, curated by Jesse Damiani at Honor Fraser, which was an exhibition that was focused largely on AI art. And there were some heavy hitters in here. And two pieces in this exhibition I saw that were particularly awesome were I saw the piece by Matt Herndon, or by Matt Dryhurst and Holly Herndon, called "I'm Here," which is a piece that I had read about. And I love having experiences like this when I go to a gallery. I just sort of I knew I was going to check out the show because I was a fan of the curator. I didn't even know what artists were going to be in the show, and there was not wall text anywhere, so it's like you don't get prepared before you engage with one of these pieces. And so but Matt and Holly's style is pretty noticeable. I mean it stands out, so you know what you're getting into. And I stood in front of this piece and I realized, oh, this was the piece that they were talking about creating in the big New Yorker profile that came out on them a few months ago. um, and this piece called I'm Here, I didn't even know the title of the piece until just before the show when I looked it up. And then I also discovered that it was just acquired by the Pompidou Center, which is very nice. It was really, really, really beautiful. It was stunningly affecting, and it was also just a technical tour de force. Um, I find with so much, quote unquote AI art, um, you do have the bowls of oatmeal problem where, the algorithm, like these tools are all designed to sort of find midpoints between aesthetic styles. And as a result, you end up with a bunch of stuff that is all very samey. And with Matt and Holly's work, before we even get to the content of it, like to just talk about the form, it is so nice to be in front of something that was clearly created by a person who has real mastery of their medium. And the extent to which like you see it as like, yes, it has a lot in common with the aesthetics of a lot of other AI generated art that comes out. So you know that it is of that tool set. But you can just so clearly see the ways that they push it further. You can so clearly see the ways that they like incorporate that into other filmmaking and film editing techniques, and the ways that, you know, in their content and their subject matter, they have like a really clear idea of what are the concepts and ideas that AI brings to the table and what other concepts and ideas it should be in dialogue with. It was a fantastic piece. Really, really amazing to see.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's so. Is it kind of like a short film? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so the piece, and actually, this is not the piece in the background here. So this was a piece that is, it's the film is maybe, oh, actually, the length of it is in the title. It's maybe 5 minutes long. And it is
Yeah.
based on like an iPhone recording that Matt took of Holly recounting a dream that she had while she was in like a medical coma following childbirth. And what's really funny about this is that like there are so many reasons why what I just told you should not work. Right? Like we've all had the conversation with somebody, maybe your partner gets up and they're like, "Oh man, I just had like the craziest dream." And they like tell you about the dream and it's like it's clear like they might as well just be talking about their fantasy sports teams. You know, like your dream is really like only interesting to you and you alone, and it's very difficult to communicate the logic that existed inside that dream. But she describes a dream that she had after she had given birth and had, and I think this, they've talked about this publicly. They talked about this in the New Yorker, right? There was a very, like, you know, it was a very difficult birth. It's amazing. People still nearly die when they give birth sometimes. It's nuts that this happened in the year 2024. And you know, is a dream about, you know, her baby and her baby having a career. And you know, that recounting was fed into, you know, an AI prompt that they clearly had trained on imagery that understands like what Holly looks like, and a very limited training set of the images of their newborn baby. And there's this sort of very hallucinatory, as you can imagine, imagery that comes out of it. And I think you connect them, and there's this sort of really nice connection between these two, like organic and machine assisted, like hallucinatory states, like through which something
Mm.
comes into the world, right? And there's a degree of sort of genuine emotion, in the voice of the narrator, Holly, as she's recounting this story, that it just so rarely works in art. Like, I mean, Matt, you know, I always talk about how much disdain I have for like this earnest core art, you know, and which only makes it, so that when it does come through, and when someone really does pull it off, like with genuine earnestness, where you can feel something actually there, then it is quite stunning. So that was a really, really beautiful piece to see, was Holly Herndon and Matt Dryhurst's work at Small Voices in honor of Fraser.
You said there's another piece there too.
So the other piece there that was just awesome, and it was, and this was great curation to have this piece like anchoring, this other piece, anchoring the exhibition, was a piece from Lauren Lee McCarthy's Surrogate series.
Mm.
And I brought that up, and that was another piece that I had heard about, that I had read about, and never actually seen, and never seen the documentation of. So I was the gallery is set up beautifully. Holly and Matt's work is in one gallery, that's surrounded by, you know, a bunch of other work, and it's sort of the center of that room. And this piece by Lauren Lee McCarthy is presented as a room-size installation, and it's sort of two rooms over. So these really are spatially like the anchors of the exhibition. And once again, just a fantastic experience. Didn't know what I was walking into. You walk in, and it's set up like an installation. There are these sort of, like fake silicon like uteruses or you know, on the wall, and there are these petri dishes that are cast in. I'm not sure if it's silicone rubber or plaster because the room was quite dark, and obviously I didn't touch the art. And there's this video playing, and the video, I must say, the production quality is excellent, and that matters. Like, it's really well edited. And the video documents this process through which she did this performance of offering to be a surrogate to other intended parents, right? But there was a twist, which was that, Lauren had developed an app that was like she really wanted to take the idea of surrogacy to the nth degree, right? And especially surrogacy as mediated through technology. So she created this app where the intended parents would get one version of the app and she as a surrogate would get another. And the way she was presenting this to the intended parents was that, you will have complete control over my life because I am, for all intents and purposes, like your womb. I'm bringing your child into this world. And there's a really nice crossover, right, with art and video games. Because at one point in the video, right, one of these intended parents who's interviewing her actually says, "Oh, so I'm going to control you like a video game." And she's like, "Yeah, that's exactly it. I will be like your video game avatar. When you tell me to eat, I I will eat." And they're like, "What if we if we told you to like start smoking? Would you start smoking?" And she's like, "Well, I mean, of course, there will be some boundaries of things that I ethically or for health reasons can't do, but do most stuff. It's like you tell me to stop eating gluten, I guess I'll stop eating gluten, stuff like that." Um, and it was just a really like stunning and effective piece. One of the things that made it so stunning was that, so often when people are trying to make comments about the ways that technology dehumanizes us, right? This is a project where Lauren is literally ceding like autonomy over her body and using technology to facilitate this. They can often be sort of black and white. And the nice thing about this video is that the people who would be controlling her as a video game people, right? This artwork never makes them the butt of the joke, right? It never, like, they're never presented as being insensitive or self-centered or anything like that. It has a great amount of compassion for these people who also like want some sort of very human connection. And the degree to which the artist, or really anyone, and I suppose like the intended parents as well, will need to sacrifice some amount of humanism in order to facilitate that is, like a deliberate choice, right? And the artwork is really about, it is about how messy and blurry that line is, right? And that choice. It was a beautiful, beautiful piece. I'm
And
sorry if
so
I.
did she, no, I mean, no spoilers, but did she go all the way through with it?
No, we don't get the video is like the series of interviews and laying out the premise of it and watching as all
Yeah.
the parties involved like try to wrestle about what does it mean, all trying to wrestle with understanding all the different layers of technology through which Lauren's body becomes a vessel, right, for uh, this is another piece where, like, sometimes saying it out loud, like, it sounds really cheesy and earnest core, and this is why, like, it's amazing that both of these have pulled this off. But like the ways that through technology, her body becomes a vessel for the hopes and dreams of a complete stranger. Like, it sounds so corny, but it's so powerful. And so these two pieces were this amazing anchor for an exhibition that is about like the most cutting edge of technology, right? And these two pieces, the Lauren Lee McCarthy piece, and the Holly Hearn and Matt Dryhurst piece, by really bringing that down to sort of like the most like natural and organic and visceral, like and embodied of processes. I just fantastic work. Can't recommend it enough.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
Really
sorry.
had a lot to
I know that
offer.
I'm sorry. I monologued on that for a while, but I was really blown away by this. I hope that wasn't too long of a diatribe.
No.
No. It's great. It's really, really cool.
I also feel like this is me like getting to see what's going on in America or in Los Angeles in a way too. It's like, yeah, tell me the seed, tell me what was going on exactly. Both of these pieces somehow also, I mean, I know Matt and Holly are here in Berlin, but
Yeah.
idea of the celebration there, in a weird way, I feel like even a lot of us here in Berlin are living vicariously through America or something too. So that culture center makes a lot of sense.
No,
Um,
overall,
I go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, oh, like overall, like in terms of like the update on what's happening in LA. I mean, sort of first time that I've been there with time to kill and meet people for a long time, and I must say, like it was awesome. It was a really great time, and I got to sort of actually spend time with like the LA arts community as opposed to normally when you go to these fair weeks, like you're just visiting you're just hanging out with a bunch of people who are also visiting Miami, like for art fair week, which is like it's which is very like bourgeois touristy, and bourgeois is probably too light of a word there, but the actual community in LA was really nice, really great people there. That's my report. That's my report from LA.
People get really productive when they can't just walk somewhere and fuck off that they're takes a lot of
The
commitment to drive
downside to
away from the
walkable
productive
cities.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. I didn't hear the story that I thought I would hear. I thought it'd be the first story from your escapades.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want the story? You want the story? So yeah, no,
Needs to be documented.
definitely got to talk about this on the art and video game stream, right? So yeah, fantastic week in LA. Saw a little bit of fantastic art, met a lot of fantastic people, and you're doing the art fair week thing, right? And so yeah, we missed last Friday morning because I was on death's doorstep, like within a few days of these art fairs, like I've completely lost my voice, right? I feel like crap. I can never sleep when I travel, right? And so Friday was my last night there. I had one dinner to go to. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know who was going to be there, and I almost didn't go. So we had. I decided to show up. There were probably 30 people at this dinner. There's assigned seating, and first you go and you look for your name card and you try to figure out who you're going to be sitting with. And I look, there's Mitchell Chan, and the name tag right next to mine, right, Hans Ulrich Obrist. And I'm like, okay, LFG. All right, this is it. Like this is the end of art fair week. Let's do it. Um, and so I told you, it was a big week for art and video games. Um, as you know, and maybe our viewership knows, Hans Ulrich Oberst, he just curated last year a big show at Pompidou Center Metz called World Building that leaned really heavily into artists working with video games. And so when we sat down, um, you know, literally, like, it starts with, what are you working on? It's like, well, I'm making this video game or whatever. He's like, video games. Says, how do you feel about Elden Ring? And I was like, I I spent 100 hours this month playing Elden Ring. I have never been so prepared to talk to a curator in my life. And I
This
was
is it,
never.
Mitch. This is your moment.
It was totally the moment. And it was right. And often with curators, and I think you guys all probably have experience with this, like especially sort of more prominent curators. They curate a lot of shows, and it's really hard to tell how much of this is just sort of testing the waters with something new that's emerging that you want to be on top of, and how much is like a genuine passion project. We just talked about video games for like an hour. And like not in the sense of like shilling my video game art project or ideas for like art video game like exhibitions or whatever. Like he, he really loves video games. And we talked about, like we talked about Hideo Kojima games, and we talked about Elden Ring. It was really nice. And I will also say, like, very affirming. Um, you know, uh, when you meet somebody who's sort of very celebrated and very big in the art world, And you get to realize like it's not a LARP. Like this person is operating from a position like just from genuine passion. That's like very very nice and affirming. It makes you makes you feel good.
What did he say about
Makes me so
Kojima?
happy.
Best art game ever. That's the Death Stranding. Best art game ever.
I told him that you say that. I told him that you say that.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad you're out in the world representing my opinions, Mitch.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
what
when are we
that's
gonna
what
have
I'm
that
here for.
debate?
Oh,
We got to have that
well,
debate soon.
yeah,
Knockdown,
we're gonna
drag
have it
out.
soon. Yeah, soon. Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, before the stream started, we haven't yet done like a big AAA game on this stream, and so maybe it's time for Death Stranding or Metal Gear Solid. Oh, actually,
Oh,
Death Stranding would probably be
yeah.
better.
Yeah.
I mean, we still got to do the Kita Takahashi episode too. I don't know if he counts
Hmm.
as big name or not. Katamari is pretty big.
Yeah, no. We're doing that one for sure.
I think
Anyway, that's
Genko
my
Ito,
update
who would win.
from LA. Yeah.
Love it. Welcome back.
Thank you. I checked myself into Betty Ford for a week, and now I'm
Your exhaustion has been cured.
here. So, any other art or games to report, or do we want to jump into the game?
Trying to think. Can't think of anything at the moment. It might come to me in a bit.
I had
Uh,
some meetings with people from Clang Studio, been working on that game Seed, but they've been working on it for like 6 years and it wasn't running when I was supposed to get my playtest. I feel like
Really?
that's maybe in the domain, but I don't have a lot more to report at this point for it.
I do think I mean, we could just talk for a second about that. I do think that's one to watch for sure for the people who are interested in the lineage of EVE Online. It's a bunch of ex-EVE devs who got a big pile of money to build a EVE-like kind of persistent world MMO that's like more like you've got like little tribes of villagers kind of. It's you're not controlling a single avatar. You're like it's like a kind of a god game, or at least it was like 4 or 5 years ago when I talked to them about it. I had some friends who were working there and then left, and I remember like visiting them pre-pandemic in Berlin when they were just getting all set up. But I do think it's going to be I mean, it's a bunch of people who know what they're doing and they're very well funded. And I think the idea is pretty interesting. So I'm definitely curious to see where they get to with it. And obviously now they've been working on it for a while. So I assume it must be coming out soon-ish, or maybe they're starting to get into like playtest mode.
you
But
said EVE Online, and I was like, I had this like very dark kind of space image in my mind, and then I looked at the seed.game, and it's like kind of this like the colors, the shapes, it feels like looks so different than what I was
yeah,
expecting.
totally.
Totally
Like
different
theme
generational
wise,
vibe.
it's
Seed.game.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah, pull up
seed.game.
seed.game. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
EVE
I
like in
think
theme.
they've raised, if anything, probably like too much money. You know, they raised like $60
Yeah.
million over 6 years. And I think that they've done a great job raising and building narratives, but I don't know if the stuff has coalesced into like a game loop that works yet. I haven't played it yet, you know what I mean? And they're seems
Yeah.
like they're still workshopping things until they feel confident to release it. The thing that I thought was most interesting, and I mean, the thing that I've been focusing on the most since we all last talked probably is kind of blockchain gaming stuff. And what's interesting is that there's sort of like a Trojan horse blockchain game where they have all of these really interesting, potentially emergent behaviors that are sort of the bread and butter of why somebody would go through the extra hassle of trying to put a game on a blockchain
Hmm.
without doing it on a blockchain. And I like love that strategy in general. And then eventually it may have even more concrete kind of crypto elements, but like certainly in the short term, it's not. And for other good reasons, which is just that like the game industry, probably way more so even than the art industry, hates crypto so much. I went
Yeah.
there to talk to them about like, so I'm like working on some game ideas, working on some crypto game ideas, and like I want to kind of be able to do something that works for both audience. Familiar with the crypto circuit, I just started looking up like game conferences and stuff. Like, how would I, start tapping into that? And he's like, you have to pick. You can't do
Yeah.
both. You just have to pick
Yeah.
one or the other. Don't even try.
Yeah, welcome to my world, bro. It's not an easy road. Yeah, no, it's still extremely, extremely hated. Although I do think that there is, well, like now the folks from CCP, the Eve devs are starting to actively work on blockchain stuff connected to the whole autonomous world scene. So that's going to be interesting. We'll see. And that audience actually might be more like amenable. The spreadsheet crowd might, they like, if you like spreadsheets in space, you might like spreadsheets on chain. So that'll be interesting to see.
I hope somebody puts me in the spreadsheet crowd at one point in my life to refer to me that way.
We're not even getting into the Excel speedrun community, so
Oh yeah, true. We should do a speedrun episode in general because the speedruns out there, the pilot speedruns, all of them.
yeah. Yeah.
Also, in terms of pilots, speedruns, and simulators, I met up with an old friend, American but living here in Germany, who's gotten deep into the like bus public transport simulator world, which Germany is all over. Like you
Yes.
have the video game store and all the games are here, and like however many shelves there are on normal video games, there's the same number of shelves just for simulators of every train,
Mm.
tractor, bus, subway, light rail, tram, and you just pretend to drive them through real routes in real cities. And this is like where the Japan really shows itself to be the Germany of Asia. I remember going to a giant arcade in Tokyo, and they had a full like room size booth with sliding doors that you went into just for a single instance of the subway simulator game, where basically the only control is like forward and backwards to like check the speed so that you stop perfectly at each subway stop in a like Berlin subway station in the middle of this Japanese arcade. It's just like the simulator culture is so wild. I love it.
Densha to Go. That's the name of the series, right? Where you're the train
Really?
conductor. Yeah.
I think there's more than just that one
DENSEKDE.
though.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch, but that's like one of the big ones. That's like on every platform. But
Okay.
it's the
Ah,
simulator thing is wild. Like that's one of the things I love looking at is people's, if you search for battle stations, like the people's gaming rigs, but then if you look at the simulator ones of like people who were playing like a 1990s flight simulator and they have 20 CRTs stacked in an array around them so they can simulate a cockpit view and all the custom joysticks. Someone made a really beautiful Kerbal Space Program like launch sequence, like toggles and flips, like this like custom controller for that. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's wonderful.
Farming Simulator's on, I think, number 22, release number 22. If that gives you any idea of the category of at least that subcategory of the simulators here.
Put it in the
No,
chat.
and the simulator genre is big business. It's actually like if you're in game dev and you just want to make money doing things that are kind of pretty like well prescribed and straightforward, making like some niche light, Munich light rail simulator is like a totally solid economic bet.
It sounds like a very meditative job as well. Just like, I need to make this exactly like the city. I have a very clear goal. I don't need to come up with something new. I just need to recreate what's already there. I can check it out myself, confirm what it needs to look like, make
Or
it
the
happen.
Yeah.
so like I always think of train uncles as like these. I didn't have one in my family, but I knew uncles that were this, where they in their basement or they
Viewers,
had
please
the
reference episode 2 in which train uncles are first
also
brought
part
into
of.
the show.
Yeah, so this it's like are there lots of train uncles in Germany?
There must be. I don't have any uncles here. I don't know that many uncles here. I feel like there must be more here than in America, although there's a lot in America. I mentioned I have a trained uncle,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
Atlanta, Georgia.
the simulator
Amazing
does
train.
feel like, I mean, that's not the it's like a different thing though, where it's more about the systems at play than the act of creating the landscape, right? It's like, yeah.
Train Uncle, yeah, almost feels more like a model builder play, whereas the Train Simulator feels like, oh, I just like nailed that. I stopped perfectly at the spot. I only had the doors open for the right amount of time. I mean, I'm not really sure how they, if there even is
Mm.
scores to it, or if that's how they do it. It almost feels like competence porn or something like that. It's just like an opportunity to do something that's relatively benign, but like so perfect.
Oh, that's a good phrase right there, Billy.
Yeah, competence porn. That's probably the rarest form of pornography on the internet. It's the only form of
It's huge.
pornography
No,
that we're actually going to see
it's a
less
form of
of.
cinema. It's like all of the Doctor Who and like who's the guy who solves mysteries? Benedict Cumberbatch or whatever
Sherlock
he's
Sherlock
solving
Holmes.
Holmes.
mysteries.
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes. Those are all competence porn movies. It's like
Yeah.
a category of film, I think, more than anything else. It's a great
People
category.
being,
I mean,
it's kind of like a voyeuristic power fantasy. It's like
Well,
yeah, people
watching
being
somebody
really
be
good at
really good
something
at something.
specific.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind
I'm
of
No,
gonna
satisfying.
just
It's very satisfying.
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. No. I was going to talk
Oh,
more
I
about
was
simulators. We can
okay.
move on.
I was going to use this conversation about competence porn to do a brilliant segue
Whoa, let's go.
into watching Matt play video games.
Oh,
Um,
let's go. It's
which
confidence
I'm
porn
which
time.
I was really excited about because I think for our first all of our previous episodes, uh, I think I've played the games right where there have been games to play, which has been a lot of incompetence. And I think Matt is a lot better at video games than me. So maybe this will like really scratch my competence fetish to watch Matt play our video game this week, which is Mosa Lina, which is a game that like we said, Matt suggested this, brought this to us to play this week, and the rest of us didn't have a lot of familiarity with. So we're quite excited to learn more about it.
Oh, I just realized I think I'm listening to the YouTube, not the let me make sure. I think I'm time lagged. Can
Uh-oh.
you guys hear me? Oh
Yeah,
no,
we can
I'm
hear you
good.
just fine.
I couldn't
Okay.
tell which reality I was in there for a moment.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
tell me about
all
it.
right, audio is coming through. Let me boot up the game real quick. So yeah, I
Okay.
missed a little bit of that excellent segue, but thank you for segging me. So the game that I'm
Yeah.
playing is Mosa Lina.
Yep. And
Just get it launched up.
I'm gonna bring you up here as well. All right. So here you are. You are ready to go.
All right, let me share my screen. This is also Art and Video Games Crowd. We're testing a mode of sharing here. Okay, I'm going to send 1080 and I'm going to send 30 frames. And I think I'm sending audio too. Let's see. All right. I think you got to click watch stream, Mitch.
Oh yeah. Okay. Boom. All right. Here we go. This is
All
going
right,
great.
cool. All right, so I don't know if anybody can tell if we're getting audio.
I'm hearing it, and
You're hearing it. Okay,
yeah, and actually, I know that our audience is. I can check our levels and see that. Yeah. Oh wow, and it's
cool.
coming
So
through quite well. It's coming through really well.
awesome. Yeah. So Mosa Lina is a procedural platformer game. So this is a tutorial screen, right? And you can jump, shoot, and switch what you're shooting. So at any given time, you have 5 items, and it's all
Hmm.
physics driven. So the mushroom, you can jump on it, right? And the goal is to get to these berries in the level. So it's actually a really simple idea. But what I find really interesting about it is that it's truly random. So,
Okay.
unlike in a lot of procedural systems where there are kind of guardrails and they make sure not to give you unwinnable levels, this game gives you unwinnable level. There we go. Whoop, got it. Gives you unwinnable levels all the time. So now it's dealing me out. These are all the items that I'm going to get in my rotation as it gives me levels.
Uh-huh.
And as they warn at the bottom, this will be hard.
Oh.
Um, right. And so now I'm going to get a little set of levels. So now they give me these 3 things, right? And so I've got to get the 2 apples. And first of all, I got to figure out what my items, what was that, a bomb? I got to figure out what my items do. What do I have? The bomb, okay. Oh, and this clip. This thing is really fun. Okay, so. Okay. And like very frequently, you're going to get into this kind of state where you are, where you're stuck. You know, it's like, I think let's see if I can, okay. Actually, that might work. Right? So it's giving you these like very interesting, and then you die, and then it gives you a new set of 3 random items, right? So it's like a lot of the time when I'm thinking about like generative art systems, I think everybody, and especially like if we're talking about crypto, right? People are very, oh, this is a funny one. Oops. It's the camera, I think, freezes things, if I remember. So people are always trying to create like safe generators that are going to generate reliable outputs, right? And this, by saying, no, we're going to throw away a lot of these outputs, or, you know, a lot of these, oh, fuck. Oh, no, it's going to work. It's going to work.
But now how are you going to get up there?
Well, that's what we're going to find out. Maybe I'm not. Let's see. So this is what I really like. It's like you can kind of, let's see if we get some of these guys moving. Oh, no, I'm fucked. So yeah, this is cool. They give you these little screens. Okay, so warning, this game is random. Sometimes you can win and sometimes you cannot, right? Which to me is, I think, like the real kind of like bold thing about this game is throwing up unwinnable scenarios and letting so what they've done is they've really expanded the possibility space for the generator by taking the guardrails off, right? Which I find really cool, right? It's like if you've ever been working on like generative art stuff or even generative levels, you'll sometimes see these like really insane things. But you're like, well, but we can't do that because it's not safe, or it might just like erase the whole canvas. But in a situation like this, it's like you're kind of allowing that stuff to happen, which to me feels really cool and fresh.
I know. How are you going to get back
You
up
know, can you, like, for instance, you get like a unique setup and then you die, do you never get to play that level again? Or is there like a unique ID you'd be able to come back to make sure it's that one too?
So these levels, I'm in like right now a kind of a playlist of levels. So you see up at the top, I've cleared 4 out of 9 levels, right? So I have to clear all 9 of these and it's going to keep looping me through them. And then there's a kind of like a boss type level, which will be one of these levels, but with some stuff added that's like even harder. I don't remember what this thing does. Oh, fuck. It's like a gravity thing, like pulled me off the platform. Also, just, yeah, a lot of hilarity ensues. Okay, this is kind of interesting. Oh my God, this gravity thing, what's this going to do? Oh, maybe that was good. Let's see. Let me see this.
But you have limited ammo, right?
Yeah, you have 2 shots of each thing. So,
so like you don't even really get to figure out what you have.
No, well, you have to, that's the thing. You have to really learn the system.
Right.
You have to learn what all the pieces are. Okay, this one I might be able to finish. What does this thing do? Oh, that's good. That was close. Oh, no,
You have another one of those?
Okay, wait. Hold on. No.
Yeah,
But
you'll be able to do it.
it's persisting.
Oh,
I'm
you can go off the top.
Yeah, you die on the top too, as well as the bottom. Okay, so I got mushroom. Okay, rocket pushes you up. I don't know. I still don't really know what the apple looking thing does. What does this really do? Pomegranate, yeah. Aim down, thank you. All right, let's try to figure out what this pomegranate really does. Okay, I think, can I get under this? No. So yeah, it's kind of like you loop through stuff and you keep, it's about like making repeated attempts and This is kind of an easy one. Oh, no, not that easy. Right. Okay, this thing I know will push me up. This is my little swinger thing. And this is a gravity thing.
So
Is the
returning to
soundtrack
Billy's
generated?
question.
Go ahead.
Oh,
What's
actually,
your
answer
question?
that. What Travis was saying is the soundtrack generative.
It is. I'm pretty sure what it is there's a set of layers that are getting pitched up and down and recombined. So this, I actually really like the sound in this game, both the sound effects and like this, and it's a little subtle, this like ambient loop,
Yeah, I can hear it.
kind of really dreamy. All right, let's try that. Oh no, fuck. I'm fucked. I fucked myself.
Okay,
Gravity.
Returning to something Billy said, it seems like now we're looping through the levels right now. Like you said, like you get a randomly generated a playlist of levels that will use the same tools every time or different tools.
I have a playlist of tools. I have like 9 tools and 9
Right.
levels, and it's
Right.
looping me and combining each time, right? So now we're starting to get the hang. Okay, I know what the box does. I
Okay.
know what all these things do now, right? So, okay, so
It's almost like limited roguelike. Yeah, like we've seen this tool before, but last time you played this level, you didn't
I didn't
get
have
that
this.
tool. Right.
Yeah,
And
so
so
now I
as you're
kind of know
going
what it
through,
does. Oh, come on.
right, you can
Oh,
think
fuck
about
you.
so you can think about how next time through this level,
Right.
if you get just a perfect tool, you know, you might be able to beat this, right? Like next time through this level, if you aimed that purple box just a little bit higher,
So
you
close.
might actually
Yeah.
be able to
Gravity
get it.
almost. I think because I destroyed the one mushroom, this might work actually. Oh no! Okay.
Have you beat any of these levels yet? Since
Yeah,
we've been on
yes, I have.
Steam?
Well, so I've beaten 4 out of 9 so far, and
Oh,
then
there's circles rather than squares?
yes. So you see the green ones up at the like dark
Right.
green up at the top. Those are the ones
Yeah.
I've beaten.
Okay.
Okay,
But you didn't beat them on
I've got
stream
the
with us.
fish
That
one.
was before you jumped
No,
on
no, no. I
stream.
did.
Oh.
Or did I? No, wait. Have I beaten anything yet? No, maybe not.
It just happened really fast.
It could have.
I don't know, man.
Replay.
I'm not sure my competence porn fetish is feeling
It's
really
getting.
safe right now.
Just keep.
So this also reminds me a lot visually of the game from the one of the Noise Adepts, Baba Is You. Like it has
Yes.
a very similar look. Why? Like, what is that? What is this aesthetic? Like, is this like is this a toolkit that they're both using? Is it?
I would guess that this is a game maker. And
Okay.
so the rendering style, to me, this looks like kind of characteristic game maker rendering style.
Okay.
This kind of like simple drawing style.
Mhm.
Oh, there we go. Maybe that was good. Okay, so I froze those. What else do I have? This is a bomb. And this. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too, Travis. It immediately reminded me of Baba Is You, to the, like the font being the same, the handwriting style, to the point where like I wondered if it was the same dev. That's an interesting insight, though, if it's Game Maker, and that's kind of the way that engine tilts.
Yeah, to me, this is like very Game Maker looking. It's like rendered at low res, these kind of simple drawn sprites, and the way the fruit is animating, right, where they've just drawn the sprite 3 times and they're just looping it, right? So it's like this hand-drawn wiggle animation is very Game Maker, because Game Maker like supports easily. Put a fish on there. Nope. Game Maker supports easily drawing sprites in engine, so it kind of gives it this like characteristic style.
Right. So I want to like come back to this theme that you were talking about, Matt, because I actually think it's a really interesting theme. That this is like procedural generation without guardrails, and the point that you were making.
I want to talk about this too.
Yeah. the point that you were making is really interesting, and actually, so like, let me lay the groundwork for sort of like where we're at, and then I really want to hear your takes, Travis. Right, we've been for the past 3 years or so, right? We've seen this explosion of generative art in the digital art world, and it's been really exciting. But it's also worth noting that it's a very specific definition of what generative art is, right? And most famously, kind of explained in Tyler Hobbs' essay about his piece Videncia, right? He's calling it long form generative art, and when he uses that term, he's talking about the challenges of creating an algorithm that will only produce good outputs, right? Which is like, and I hadn't
Got
thought about
one.
it like this.
There we go.
Yes,
There we go. Finally.
so
Super duper.
satisfying.
That's so there's your competence point, Mitch. Okay, so now you can see it's a
Oh
check
no,
mark.
I'm so satisfied.
There you go.
Thank you. That was
There you go.
great.
Good. All right, keep going. Tyler.
Yeah, right. And so which is it's a massive technical challenge to create these algorithms which will produce aesthetic outputs that are only good. So that by the time you're done writing the algorithm, and it is very important to say writing the guardrails for the algorithm, all right, you can take your hands off the wheel and know that everything will be good. And everybody who signs up for a random output will get their money's worth. Um, and it's really interesting. I hadn't thought about the extent to which, oh yeah, that is like procedural video game level generation. You play a game like Hades, and like, yeah, they're going to generate you a different level every time, whether you're playing like, like Rogue Legacy or Hades or something like that. But we got to make sure this level is winnable, right? We got to make sure this level
Exactly.
isn't
Yeah.
too
No dead
extreme.
ends, right? In a game, if
Yeah,
somebody's like 5 levels in and then you hit them with an unwinnable level, they will give you a bad review on Steam, right? Like,
yeah,
This is it. This is the thing I wanted to talk about because
yeah.
I think that also in that like at least it's presented this way online that like how people that get really into games thinking of speedrunning communities and this kind of like when is that all right of to have levels that are unwinnable like because like when I saw that on the screen I was like yes this is like such a great concept but then immediately it's such a great concept to kind of throw this at what maybe you can't beat this that kind of
Right.
challenge of like or if you ever see like a summoning salt video on YouTube where it's like some speedrunner sets a new time and it's like this is the fastest time ever there's no one who's ever going to get a faster time at this level and then someone 10 years down the line figures out that if you hold the controller upside down and drum it like you're a drummer all of a sudden you're like breaking records left and right and so it's like I love that this is like a new positioning of like maybe you can't even beat it at all and in those other situations right like speedrunning everything is deterministic I don't know it's exciting but
That's
it
why I was
also
also
feels like
wondering.
from a game design perspective that like is this like does this kill the game like how has this game been responded to because of that
yeah, I
Also,
don't
there
know
was
actually what the critical reception of this has been. Yeah, go ahead, Billy.
I just wanted to amend to that question, which you can hopefully answer too. A bit of a follow-up. My first question, which is like, how repeatable are these? Because I could imagine, there's a level which you're given and you don't know if you can beat it or not, but maybe eventually somebody can figure out a way to do it. But is there any ability to ensure that the level that I couldn't beat, is something that somebody else is able to try through like a seed or a unique ID system, or is it really just like disposable? You never get a chance to try that one again.
That's actually a good question. I don't know. Well, so they give you an option to
Speedrun, it says
re-roll
there.
the whole game, but I don't think. Speedrun. Here we go. There's a speedrun mode, raw random. I'm not sure. Let's just see what happens if I go to speedrun mode. I'm giving up my progress here.
No.
This looks like
I bet you
it's.
get to pick your
Oh,
own.
it's timing. I guess
yeah
this
you
is
got a timer in the
timing.
bottom left it doesn't
Yeah,
say
I
this will
see
be
the
hard
Accidentally
timer,
anymore
pushed
you just
moving.
get a timer
but I don't think it's okay. We got some new items. Anyway, it's good to get some new items. Let's see. Actually, I like these items. I like this box. This box is cool. This will teleport me. It's like a blink dagger from Dota.
Mitch, when you're talking about this idea of long-form generative art, we're going to be looking at that with Spelunky in terms of
Yeah.
kind of really great execution of levels that are procedural generated from these kind of puzzle pieces that can be reorganized in so many ways that it always
Mhm.
feels. I mean, I think it is right, Matto. It's like it's at every level.
Reliably
You're not.
winnable.
Yeah,
I
Mhm.
think,
yeah.
yeah. No, Spelunky is for sure. Let's see.
Oh,
Yep.
I obviously don't know what the reviews of the game are, but I could also imagine, Travis, and on your topic, like I feel like players get mad when games don't act the way they're expected. But if you set the
yes,
expectations to not be
exactly.
beatable, I think it's totally fine. Like,
Yeah,
how can you get mad when you know that it's going to be the case all along?
right up front. I mean, I think maybe that's the thing that I'm responding most strongly to in this is that it tells you that right away. Woo!
Mhm.
Exactly. And they say that often in those interstitial screens, like, don't be afraid to re-roll. He even says, like, don't get angry if you can't win. Like, there's definitely some very overt, like, expectation managing and communication happening there because, yeah, as you say, this is very much violating some, like, important conventions that, like, every generated level should be winnable, and you should never put the player in, like, a locked fail state.
Mhm.
So to me, that's the thing I find, like, really bold and interesting about this.
And
And I think it's a good design. The fact that the level is so small, so you're looping out of it fast. If you're not putting people into this long fail state, right? So
mhm.
short fail states are very tolerable. And you're giving people tools to just quickly re-roll. And even, like, I did beat one of these sequences of 9 levels, like, once. I think it took me, like, maybe an hour, 2 hours, right? So it's not, even in the macro loop, it's not you know it's not that big of a commitment. Oh yeah,
I
this
wanted to try
this
to
gun
bring this back
shoots
to
out
that.
your tool.
Oh,
Oh,
Ooh,
nice.
I'm still alive. Look at
how did that happen?
Um, the first episode we talked about.
that. Yeah, go ahead, Billy.
This is a good game. This is a good game.
It's a good game for sure.
I
It makes
love
me
that.
think
Oh,
of Human Fall Flat, where like kind of the
Yes.
the game loop is just like being bad at something, and
Mhm.
instead of you like, or I guess, and that's also them being bad. Like they give you just a body that's just a bad body. It just doesn't
Mhm.
work well. And in a way, what they're giving you here is a bad game. Like it just doesn't work well. Sorry,
Mhm.
you can't even beat this game. It's broken in like
Yeah.
a kind of
Might be broken.
joyful
You're trying to
way.
figure out,
I
is
see.
it broken? Right? Like,
Right.
is it winnable? Is this situation you've put me in winnable? Which to me is a really interesting question. And that's actually what's it, 11:20? I'll shift to Spelunky maybe in like 10 minutes. But like,
Mhm.
there was a really, I think this question is, like, really important and interesting and goes back to the, like, risky generator and generative art question. Like, the Derek Yu in his book about Spelunky talks about Spelunky being a reaction to, and this is actually when we get your thoughts on this ready for the end, when Mitch asks us, is it art, right? Because I think this is an interesting question. Like, Yu says that Spelunky was designed as a reaction against what he felt was the theme parkification and hand-holding of particularly AAA game design, right? Where everything is signposted, everything has a glowing mini map icon, there's a GPS at every stage of the game to guide you to the next thing. And one of the things that he name checks Zelda 1 as having this feeling, and talks about a Miyamoto interview where Miyamoto was talking about how Zelda 1 was kind of about this feeling of exploration, um, and kind of wildness, right? Or like a wilderness, right? And to me, and then you talks about how in Spelunky there's this idea of, like, almost like indifference to the player, right? It's saying, like, hey, we're not going to hold your hand, and we might be throwing you into situations that are kind of harsh or unforgiving and are not, like, tailor-made,
Mhm.
set up for you to always win or to always feel
Mhm.
good or to always always understand what's going on or where you're going, right? And I feel like Mosa Lina is a step beyond that, right? Of saying, not only are we not going to hold your hand, but we are actually going to throw you into situations that are unwinnable.
Yeah.
And so for me, there's this kind of wildness to it, almost like nature, right? Where nature is indifferent to you, right? And this kind of attitude of indifference, which for me, then we get into a mode of what feels more like actual exploration, right? Like we are exploring a system that is not just going to guarantee. It's not like your parent who always lets you win the game, right? And kind of cheats in your favor. It's like, no, you have to actually win here. And it's possible, very, very possible that you won't.
It
I
also
think
absolves the game designer of a really
This is
common or
great.
like frustrating configuration, which is like you want to create frustration in the user, and sometimes there's this question of like, is that frustration justified? And by not committing to like every level being beatable, you always allow the player to sort of, write off their failures through, oh, it probably just can't be beat.
Yes, that too.
that's a
That
great
puts it.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good point.
So
Yeah.
I have two points. Okay, one is that the thing that I'm seeing you do right now that is just kind of it's checking this box for me in terms of mechanics of games that I love is the, oh, what's this, and then you explode, or like there's a slip
Yeah.
of there's a slip of the control. This is like Noita is all about this too, which is one of the developers from Baba is you as well. So it's like where you have this wand, you're in a wrong space at a wrong time, and you just blow up. And then there's a kind of I think that maybe From Software games have a little bit of this too, where you just laugh when you die because
Yeah,
it's just like
totally.
so. And then the other thing that it made me think about is, so it would be really interesting to talk to a QA player in terms of how they think about something like this, like in terms of when they're doing like someone who's had a lot of experience in QA, in terms of like how they procedurally go about breaking a level and finding the limits, finding out if it is passable or not passable. I'd be interested in knowing like how that changes the way someone would navigate through it.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the big, really difficult and risky decisions in making a game like this, right? Or in this case, they're kind of absolving themselves of that. In traditional roguelike games, or like games like Spelunky, they really are trying to always present winnable outcomes, which we can talk about the approach of their generator. Pushes them into a way more predictable on rails type generator, which is basically generating pieces out of preset chunks, because they have to like make them out of Legos, right? That can always be won, to kind of ensure like a viable outcome. I think also in that kind of QA mode, it's like determinism becomes really important, right? Being able to, even if you never ship like a seeded mode to the player, being able to do that in like a dev console, right? So that you're like replaying the same seeds again and again to make sure that the generator is actually functioning, not just randomly throwing up chaos, I just wanted to like draw attention to the little warning screen here. This game is random. Sometimes you win and sometimes you cannot. Warning.
Yeah.
Right?
And Matt, I think you did such a beautiful job explaining like how radical
Yeah.
that proposition is. And like I just think about it continuing, like how often do you play a video game and however immersive it is and however open-ended it is. I mean, when I play, I'm always aware that I am in the world of video game logic, right? And these games that we're talking about, games like obviously like the From Software games are famous for this, or like Zelda 1, like you were mentioning, they let you figure out the logic on your own. Like there's no hand holding, right? And we've seen
Yeah.
a lot of developers, sort of resist against that kind of hand holding in AAA games. They're going to let you figure out the logic of this world on its own. But we're in a video game, and I always play a video game like this. I'm aware that there's a logic that leads to me winning, right? I go and I see, when I play a game and there's a door up somewhere in the distance and there's a monster between me and the door, I understand there is some process I can go through to defeat the monster and get to the door. Unless the door is of a different archetype, like uses a different texture map, unless it uses
Yeah.
the texture map for doors that you're not allowed to enter, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but like winnability is the ultimate sacred covenant, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Of
Yeah.
games.
Or that, like, if you show that door, there's got to be a way for the player to get there, and if there isn't, they're going to be really mad and upset, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you're kind of you're making a promise that you may not be keeping.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But I don't know.
And
I was
here,
thinking about that earlier. Like, is that part of the definition of a game, though? I had to pull up our Bernard
yeah,
Suits definition to see if it still fits, and I think it still fits, even if you can't win the game. I mean,
yeah,
of course,
because
we all think of it as being a sacred covenant, but that definition at least still stands.
yeah, no, I think you're right. Right, it's just some sort of like pursuit. There are sort of ridiculous obstacles that we're overcoming for its own for their own sake. The only difference is we have to
The
add.
attempt.
Yeah, yeah, right. That we're trying to complete for its own sake, or not. Right, that we're going to overcome these obstacles, or not. You just add the word
Maybe there
or
has
not.
to be the idea that it might be possible to overcome them. So even if it's not possible, you're still voluntarily attempting to overcome the unnecessary obstacles. You don't know that it's impossible to overcome them, but you're still attempting to.
Mm-hmm.
Does
And
it
the other,
change? I mean,
Yes.
would you still attempt if you know it's not possible?
well, because there's only one way to find out whether it's possible or not. I mean, seriously, like look, we do this as kids all the time, right? Whether you're, trying to be the kid who can jump over the puddle, like, without getting wet or stuff. I mean, as kids, when we play games, we take on dumb, unwinnable stuff all the time.
That like confirmation about whether it's winnable or not is an interesting, like, formal problem, because it's sort of only proven to be winnable once it's won, but it can't really
Yeah,
be proven to be unwinnable, or it's very
that's
difficult, I
true.
think, to
Yeah.
prove something is
Yeah.
unwinnable.
Mhm.
Proving a negative.
You mentioned this right at the beginning. There's something else too, like about like making engines in this game, like finding out how to like make kind of emergent structures that help you through it. Feels like I could see that being a part of this too.
Definitely, yeah. Because I mean, you saw in like one or two attempts ago, I got like that chain hooked up to that thing, and then, I mean, this is the really nice, simple emergent dimension of this game is the physics, right? It's just got a simple 2D physics engine, but everything is allowed to, like, I can just take any of these boxes and hook this chain thing up to them, and get them bobbing around.
Yeah.
And
The fish
that,
died as soon as they hit the spike, right? Like they
Yeah.
weren't flopping around anymore.
Yeah. They die on the spikes, and they make the spikes walkable. That's how the fish are like a useful tool, because you can now jump on the fish, which is what I was trying to do before I got distracted.
They also did
that
like
gives
a
you
good
nice,
job
like,
making it 90% winnable. I mean, in terms of like not totally putting somebody out of the creek, like in that playtest question, they must have had to figure out what threshold were like acceptable, unbeatable sort of things, because it's a well-designed generative level builder. It's a pretty cool level each time. It seems coherent.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think actually that these that the level layout, I don't think is generative. I think the level itself is hand authored, although actually I don't know. But that the generative thing is the set of levels you get and the set of tools that you get. That's actually more of a guess than an actual, like, but I'm pretty sure that these are hand authored. And then the combinatorics is
No.
That's good.
That actually was okay, but now I don't think I have a way to get up there. See if I can jump off the gun. Wait, hold on. Maybe I can jump off the gun.
You ready to admit that you're not cut out for a competency porn star?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I beat one. Okay.
Yeah, he was doing pretty good.
You're doing better
It's
than
the
I would
game's
ever
fault.
do. But
It's the game's fault. It's
It is a 30.
unwinnable,
It's
Billy.
true. Blame the game.
Blame
We're at
the
the
game.
30-minute though, in case you wanted to.
Shall I switch over to Spelunky?
Yeah. Maybe.
Do it. Yeah. Let me. All right. Let me. Real quick. I'm going to open a browser tab because I want to actually show the Spelunky generator real quick. There's a website where somebody. Yeah. Tiny subversions. Here it is. So, okay, change what I'm sharing in Discord to the website. I wonder what's change windows. Here we go. Spelunky generator lessons. So this is the Spelunky generator, right? And so we can see it takes a very different approach, right? Up here, I don't know if can you guys see my cursor. Well, anyway, up in the
Yeah.
upper left corner, right, is let's see, actually, is that the start point? Anyway, you always start in the upper row,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to progress to an exit, which I think is represented by the black tile in 3 on the lower right in this case.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what it's doing is it picks one room layout, which guarantees connectivity. And then there's a sub pass of randomization. Yeah, okay, so the black tile in room 1 in the middle of the top row is the entrance, and then the black tile on the lower
Okay.
right in this one is the exit, right? So it's a grid of 4x4 level layouts, and then they get sub randomized inside it. I think, yeah, here's individual rooms, right? So this is, what is it? 1 to keep room types, but pick new room templates. Yeah, so here you can see we're keeping the connectivity. And then this thing, this like well on the right side is a pattern that is pre-programmed that comes
Mm-hmm.
out. It's like if you get an 8, I think it places an 8 and a 9 below it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like a good example of like a safe generator, right? We have like hand authored chunks that are guaranteed to have connectivity between them. And then there's or like here, if we do, yeah. So here we can see the path through the level is persistent, right? But
Mm-hmm.
now we're randomizing with the second order of randomization inside the
Huh.
the layouts, right? So it's a good generator, and it's a nice format, and you can get a lot out of this. Like it doesn't feel boring. This like 2 pass randomization, and then 3, there's a probably in this case you see the distribution of the gold now is the only thing being randomized, and there's some other sub items like chests and stuff that get randomized in this pass too. So there's like a third pass of probabilistic tiles inside of it. And this whole thing, we can link to this in the show notes, but
Yeah.
it's a good little lesson on how it works, and a good way to understand if you want to make like a platformer level generator in a tile-based system. It's like a very good it's a good approach.
And
All right.
also, Matto, we should also link to the book, the boss fight books, Derek Hughes, like book he wrote on Spelunky too, because he kind of goes into a lot
100%.
of it too. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, exactly. He lays it all out actually and talks about it in detail. And it's a great book. It's just that's also where those quotes from him talking about indifference came from. It's like the second chapter, I think, where he kind of talks about the ideas behind the game. And yeah, it's very good and very inspiring. Okay, let me switch to sharing Spelunky now. Change windows. Spelunky. All right. You guys see the game?
Yeah.
So
All
Just
right.
resizing for our viewers.
Yeah. I could probably,
No, we're
I
good.
think
We're
it's
good.
actually it's running in low resolution right now, but I think it's probably fine.
No, that's okay. I think it's showing up great.
looks
Yeah.
So
good.
this is, I know this is a legendary game. I've
Yeah.
never played this game. I've never played this game.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, I'll just jump right in, right? Let's go. This is actually, I just installed on this computer, so nothing is unlocked. So basically the goal is it's a, Mario-like platformer game. You're exploring this mine and you're supposed to get all the way to the end. You have a whip You can jump, and you can also pick things up, and you can sprint. I'm trying to remember how to pick things up. It's actually been, yeah, so you can pick things up and you can throw them, right?
Okay.
And that's basically it. Oh, and you have bombs, and actually don't want to do all this story shit. Anyway, okay. Anyway, I'm just going to skip through this. This is my, I'm editorializing. Oh, okay. Actually, it's not so bad for us to see the tutorial. Okay, so jump. You can grab onto ledges.
Everything kills you.
Everything, yeah. The snakes kill you if you touch them. Basically, everything kills you. Getting these gems is good. I'm going to skip that one. And you have life, right? So you start with 4 life. And that life is not reset between levels. So preserving your life is it's pretty punishing in terms of difficulty. Like if you lose, like me losing 2 health here, it's really, really bad actually.
You might have saw right back there was also like a gym that was like in a place that seemed like it was impossible to get to because there's spikes. Also, you can use bombs to blow up anything. Like everything is down. You can blow up anything as well.
Yeah, the whole level is destructible. I think they're going to give me some bombs here in the tutorial.
Sorry, Matt, when you have a chance, can you just turn down the in-game volume, maybe by half?
Yeah.
It's also really framey too. Like it's like a kind of. Is anyone else getting like a really choppy framing, or is that just me?
Yeah.
Low frame rate. Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder.
It says 1080 30 FPS, but it's coming across really framey.
Huh. That's annoying. But Mosa Lina wasn't.
It's playable. No, Mosa Lina was fine.
I think it's playable. We'll take a look afterwards to the stream.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We could. This is part of our tech, figuring out how to actually stream games like this. So yeah, now I got some bombs, and also gems. You see, I'm collecting this gems and gold. So there is a shopkeeper that you'll encounter at some point. It's bats. Oh, it's funny. I haven't played this in a few years. I'm like much worse than I used to be. And then you have these hooks, which are another. Wait, did they not give me? Did I
get some rope?
I don't see any rope. Yeah.
Maybe bomb down there.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a good demo of bombs. Or whatever. I'll just skip it. All right, let's try to get to actual level.
All right. So to what extent do you guys think that, like we're talking about the rules of procedurally generating winnable and unwinnable stuff, right? With all these levels being destructible, do you think the bombs function sort of as like winnability insurance? Like we know the algorithm is going to work like 99.999% of the time, but just in case, let's give the players limited access to a tool that can that can rewrite our algorithm's output.
Yes, I think that is really an important. It's weird. Something's weird going on with my controls. I'm like, I think my buttons are. I don't know. Am I tripping? I can't pick the thing up. Definitely not mapped the way it thinks it's mapped when I'm using a PlayStation controller, maybe. It's actually bad. Sorry, I should have tested the game before the stream. I did pick up the thing in the original. Wasted all my bombs. Weird.
So also, like, you have like the snake and the bat, and every enemy, every kind of element in the game, like there's spikes, there are these like things that shoot arrows at you. Your death is a learning lesson all the time, kind of similar to From Software games, where it's just like you're gonna die a bunch, and every time you die, you might learn, you might not remember that, and when you play it again, in the tutorial, we're not getting to see it as much as like when you actually get into the levels. But yeah, it's like you're just continuously learning and dying in the game, and so to pick this game up for a first time and to beat it would be wild. like in terms
Right.
of it. But yeah, I thought you bring up a really great point though about the bombs.
Yeah, no, the bombs and the ropes. It's telling me to hold down the left stick and to pick things up. This is really chaotic. Something weird going on here, but
Did it
it's
change
not
in
like the best.
Spelunky 2 maybe?
This is Spelunky 1 though. I'm
Yeah.
truly confused.
There you go.
I
You
might have
got
got
it.
myself.
So, I'm just thinking about this stuff that we've been saying about like procedural generation and rules and rules like that, and I'm realizing like a couple of things. I mean, first of all, that we started talking about long form generative art and what it means to create an
Yeah.
algorithm that only produces the right outcomes, only produces beautiful or good outcomes, and and that versus, and I understand actually, Matt, I think it was really smart to also play like Mosa Lina. Like these are really, really interesting games to put in conversation with each other and think about the different
A
kinds of.
sommelier of game design right here.
Yeah.
We got such a good pairing.
It's just like there's one small difference, which is that one of these games produces outcomes you can always win, and one doesn't, and it's such a huge difference. Like that is the breaking of the central contract of video game logic, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that I've realized is that like I think that most coders, like most programmers, would say, and actually I'd love to pose this question to you guys as coders. The algorithm that only produces correct outputs, I think most coders would say is more elegant, right? That's certainly been the attitude in the generative art community lately. It's just like, oh man, if you think it's hard to, create an algorithm that can make a beautiful artwork 1 out of 1,000 times, imagine how hard it is to make an algorithm that can produce something of value 1,000 out of 1,000 times, right?
Yeah.
I think most people would agree that it's a more elegant algorithm. To which the thing that I'm learning here is, well, first of all, the thing that we know, which is there are different ways to create algorithms that only produce the right outputs. And it was awesome how you walked us through the different layers of randomness and Spelunky maps. But it's like, there is the algorithm that literally actually does only produce correct outputs. And then there's algorithms that also have other like quality, like QA checks at the end, right? Where like actually often produces the wrong outputs, but the algorithm at the very end has a quick check to make sure. And if it fails, then we just run it again, right?
Which I actually I think is an underrated approach, the test and discard approach. Like that allows you to have a more dangerous generator, and then you might get some like edge case winnable levels, right? Which I think is really cool. It's obviously it's not as elegant, right? Because you're just like a lot of the time you'll just end up like looping and regenerating levels. But I think there's also something like I'm into a lot of these inelegant approaches, just because if you're limiting yourself to only the most kind of elegant, and I think it's a little anal retentive.
Same here. I agree. And like, I always have to remember, the goal for most people, it's not true of everybody, but the goal is to make a great game or a great series of artworks, right? Not to write the most elegant code.
There we go. Okay, I got it.
But yeah, that was a really interesting thing. But the thing that it can't do, the thing that approach can't do, and this is something that I think you could accuse a lot of generative art of, is that that doesn't necessarily totally reveal like the nature of the algorithm, if that makes sense, right? When you sort of like put those guardrails on it, and it makes me realize that actually, when I sort of came into this game and I started talking about art and generative art or whatever, it was actually a huge mistake. Actually, there's so much less there's actually so little criteria for visual artworks that is also applicable to games. And the thing that is the right approach for games is actually, I think, totally wrong for artwork. And I think that in games, like in Mosa Lina, if you create a condition where, you pump out, half of the conditions are unwinnable, like are unacceptable, I think you've created real tension and excitement throughout the experience, right? Versus in an artwork, if you create a pure algorithm where just half the outputs are crap, you've just made 50% crappy work, right? And actually, this was an element where my sort of like artiste goggles for assessing games actually really is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, also, one of the scenes that I've been involved in lately is there's this Avant NFT scene that's happening predominantly on Solana, and there's an artist named Evil Biscuit who made a project named Drafella 2, that one of the things that I think is so interesting about it is how it violates the conventions of the PFP NFT genre by using a super dangerous generator where stuff is very often fucked up, and or there are traits that obscure the whole canvas. Actually on Drafella 1, they had this riot shield trait that would basically cover everything except for a little window that you're looking out of. And I think that approach is that kind of dangerous generator approach. And in their case, because these NFTs are really cheap, they're $4 and there's 10,000 of them, they're just letting the dangerous generator rip, and there's a bunch of the outputs that are fucked up, and that's part of it. You know what I mean? So you might mint something fucked up, but it only costs $4. So
I think that is more common in the art world, though. Or I mean, the generative art world. We wouldn't have Grails if we didn't have bad outputs from the boring, lame outputs from the generative art. And there wouldn't be special win conditions on these really crazy ones. I actually don't think that the art world does that good of a job of having consistently high quality. And if anything, I feel like Mona Lisa or Lona Misa or whatever is more like the generative art that we've seen. And I think that's what's interesting about it as a game, because the game actually has to ensure higher quality as an output, for the various reasons. And even if they play that variable of it, they actually have a reason to have the higher generative output. Whereas you can throw away the artworks that don't work and they just become floor trash. And that's even better in some ways for the narrative of oh, there was one that really actually hit everything perfectly and it came out in this really astounding way. I mean, I don't know if artists would say that they're actually intending on doing that, but it seems like that's sort of the output. And maybe that's just personal taste, that you have different set of qualifications for what a really high quality output is versus a low quality. But there is and I think to the benefit of a lot of projects, let weird edge case things, oh, it didn't really work out that time. And that surrounds and sort of polishes the ones that actually just sort of nailed it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I like it, and I think that's it's a mistake when people get too anal retentive with their generators to try to smooth off every single edge case, and act against that. And I think we see this kind of Grails culture is actually kind of working against that, because people are now, I think, getting more conservative and handpicking outputs and not letting the generator run as loosely, and I think it's a mistake.
Yeah, you think the meta is switching? Because I mean, Billy, as to what you were saying about oh no, Grail culture works because so many of them are bad. I think that may be I think that's your read of the situation, your honest read of the situation, but I think that's not the discourse, right? The world of generative art, as promised by Tyler Hobbs, is that every output is good. Everyone is good. That's the narrative. That's the discourse. And that the genius of the algorithm is actually its consistency in producing
infallible
quality, right? Is to produce a consistent quality composed of different composed of different elements of measurably different rarities, right?
But is the ringers, what's the total supply of ringers? Why is the
1,000.
goose a Grail and not every single one is a Grail?
Well,
because it looks like a bird.
Goose.
Who knew that one out of 1,000, I guess, is the proper number of randomly generated ringers, one would be a goose. That's what I thought made it a Grail.
Dave.
Is the
Shout
Grail
out to
term
Dave.
used
Why
to
is
sort of
the
talk about
why
the
is
whole
the
collection?
goose a Grail? Why is the goose a Grail?
As Dave
At one
said
point,
so.
some guy on his new couch said that it's a goose.
Said, look, it looks like a bird.
Yeah, one guy took a break from minting magic and playing Legos to point out that something looked like a bird.
Thanks, Sotheby's. I feel like actually, so this is a good to go back to Spelunky for a second. So okay, I'm out of the tutorial, right? And what we can see happen, that was I kind of fucked up my chance to demonstrate it, but if you look here, right? So Spelunky includes this look up, look down function,
Mhm.
right? So what we can see here is if I look up, like if I don't look up, I can't see what's above me, right? And let's say
Right.
I'm on this ledge here, right, where the spider's jumping. If I'm standing on that, I cannot see these spikes, right? These
Right.
spikes that are directly under it, right? And in a
Yeah.
traditional platformer, you're like, oh, there's a hole that I'm supposed to jump into. I can assume there's no spikes under there, right?
Right.
But in Spelunky, because it's a generator, you cannot, right? So one of the things you have to learn early on is to do this, right? To like
Right.
look down before
Look
you
where you
jump.
leap.
Yeah, because the game is not, setting you up for success. I'm gonna kill the girl. Whoops.
No.
I didn't mean to.
Oh,
I'm
what'd you
sorry.
do?
She's dead now. Here, I'll take her body with me.
You might be able to
But-
sacrifice her. I don't know if there was one of those.
I don't think you can sacrifice her when she's dead.
Oh,
You can turn the girl into a dog as well if you don't want to be misogynistic.
Mhm.
That's an option.
That makes it not misogynistic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, you can like change the options to. Where's the
Oh,
other
just
girl?
you're not always. Yeah.
So you're not.
Who's
It's
the
not
lady?
a damsel in distress.
What's the
Here we
point?
go.
Yeah. What's the point of
Wait,
the
is
lady?
there-
She's the damsel. She gives you health
In the
points if you can get her to
settings?
the exit and you're alive,
Oh.
and she's alive.
In the
But I
settings, there's
killed her.
like a woke setting to like
Yeah,
make
it is. It's
so
the
that you're
woke
not. I mean,
Here,
your
let's
first
change-
person
I'll turn
seemed
on the
like
woke setting. Let's do it. Let's be woke here. Woke Spelunky. Here we go. Settings, damsel style. Here we go. We could have a
Okay.
a
cool.
himbo,
Oh.
or we could have the dog, which is my personal choice. Just
Or a
look at him.
family. The whole
Or I guess
family.
random. I think actually let's do random. That's a good option. You never know what we're gonna get. We have a polycule.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
I'm
And
thinking
this
about like
thing, what you decide to carry with you, like the rock. See, I've got the rock between levels. This ends up being a really important thing for the most extreme version of Spelunky, which is an eggplant run, where you get the useless eggplant and you carry. Oh, see, I dropped it. You carry it all through the entire game to the end, and then you throw it Woo! Okay, that was good. You throw it at the boss, and it kills him in one hit. But it's like only been done once, and there's it was like a Twitch thing that this guy did it once, and it's documented, and that's why there's an eggplant on the cover of the Spelunky book. Spelunky lore. But yeah, this decision of like what you're carrying at any given point is like an important one. Always be carrying. That's my tip for you. Sorry, I interrupted something smart somebody was saying to talk about eggplants.
Nah, it probably wasn't that smart.
Somebody.
But yeah,
what is the name of this game? Mona Misa or
Mosa Lina.
why can't I remember?
Mosa
this?
Lina.
Take
Yeah,
most
like
Mona
camouflage.
Lisa and switch the middle consonants.
Which
Do you wanna try
art
killing the
reference,
boss?
guys?
Wrong one.
Oh yeah,
Try
that's a
killing
good
the shop
idea.
guy?
Yeah, so the
If you can make
shopkeeper
it.
can be killed, but if you kill him, yeah, he goes crazy.
Oh,
Kills you. And then not only will he kill you, but he will wait for you in every level and fuck you up. So it's a major decision to kill the shopkeeper. But if you kill the shopkeeper, then you get all the stuff.
Right.
Risk and reward.
This is so interesting. I love watching you play this and really thinking about all the ways that randomness and procedural generation force us to switch our logic. Like that point about needing to look down the pit before you jump in. It's a small point, but it actually is so important, right? And it makes you realize how often, we depend on the consistency of video game logic as we maneuver through these worlds.
Yeah, this kind of covenant, right? That's oh well, they're never going to just make me I don't know. Yeah, luckily there were no spikes. She's still alive.
Yeah.
But I should have checked before I threw her down there. She's kind of knocked out. Yeah, while you're carrying her, she's knocked out. Some gender analysis we could be doing here.
No, rough look, bro.
I know. I think originally there was no dog option or bimbo option.
Yeah.
Now look, she's going to give me a kiss and give me one of my health points back. She's just an instrument. but yeah, and I mean, I think that's why I bounced off this. This was like hyped like 10 years ago or whatever when it came out. And I bounced off it because people were like, oh, this is really great. Like, for example, one of the classic things that can happen, I'll see if I can find a case where but there's these dart blocks, right, that will shoot an arrow. And it's totally possible for there to be a drop and a dart block right underneath it, right? So you drop down and you get shot with a dart and you basically die. It takes 2 hit points off and it's very bad. The other thing is that there can be spiders in the pots. So like you always have to whip the pot and stand away from it. Okay, so here's a dart block, right? So like here, dart block right next to the exit, right? Super fucking trolly, right? So now I need I don't have one either. I need an object to actually, I could use a bomb. So if I drop a bomb,
you could bomb it.
Yeah, if I drop a bomb, I can trigger it. Like here, I'll see, and there we go. Now the arrow for the other one, also fucking spider right over the exit.
But to that point about looking down and there's possibly an arrow you can't see, that just becomes part of your understanding of the script of like, okay, I need to prep for this. This is the situation I'm in. And so it becomes about a type of mastery that you can't Wikipedia that. You can't, I mean, you can't like not Wikipedia, but you can't go like, I mean, I guess you could go to the Spelunky wiki and like kind of do that thing, but that's really only something that happens through, you die and then you're like, okay, now I need to kind of reorganize for that. I also I'm thinking about the long form generative art thing still. And I was thinking about like when people make that kind of work, is there still hope that it surprises them? Or is it about a kind of consistency where surprise is removed? Like, is it like in terms, I've never made a project like this, or like at least I feel like I think whenever I'm like fixing code, it's because I'm just trying to get some good output. It's not the whole like everything's a good output. And I wonder for people that work that way, is there ever an aim for surprise? Because that tends to be my favorite moments, like. Or maybe like, or emergence, like where these kind of things that you weren't expecting to happen.
You're definitely like mitigating emergence in that. True emergence. You're sacrificing it big time. And I do think I think that's one of the things that Art Blocks has kind of done poorly is like mythologizing the idea of a transaction hash as a seed for a generator so that which is obviously there's good things about that, but it's like now that has like pushed a meta of kind of bulletproof, safe and reliable generators, which I think is boring.
Yeah, I get it. And I should say that I am broadly like I do think that creating a visual algorithm that only produces desirable outputs, but like in different flavors, is actually a pretty technically impressive and awesome and fun thing to do, right? And fun thing for collectors.
Definitely. And respectable when it can be done well, like for sure. There's a real craft to it.
Exactly. But I think one of the things that I'm, realizing here is that I mean we've always known that that's a particular flavor, like a particular way to interpret the idea of algorithmic art, of procedural art, of generative art, right? That sort of became dominant in these past 3 years, which is fine. You'd rather have a dominant flavor of generative art than no dominant flavors of generative art. But like, yeah, it's nice to be reminded of your term dangerous generators is like another really, really good one. And if I were to like, try to put a bow on our stream here and do like my sort of like cliched, question of like, are these things art? Is Spelunky or Mosa Lina, a form of generative art? The thing that I've learned here this morning with you gentlemen is that it's actually a really good thing that it's not, right? Like by not being beholden to this requirement to be like safe and of consistent quality, and also by giving the user some tools to overcome rough spots in
Yes.
the generated output. Like these are techniques that you either wouldn't do, shouldn't do, or couldn't do, like in visual art. But they're so good for video games, and yeah, they are exciting because they allow us to challenge the basic contract of how video games are supposed to work, and that's exciting.
That's exciting,
Well
folks.
said. Well said, Mitch. Damn,
Yes.
that sounded like a
Nice,
conclusion.
Bo.
What time is it? 12:01.
I gotta drop.
Whoa!
I gotta
Landed
drop.
on
I
a
gotta drop. Thanks,
dime.
everybody.
Holy cow. Cut it. Cut
Good
the
night.
stream. It's over.
Okay, all right. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.